one-legged wrestler, Zach Gowen. I had only ever watched one of his matches, which is the first one that I will be discussing today, but as you would expect, he had another handful of matches on SmackDown before he went back to TNA and became the Tenacious Z. And today we will cover every one of Zach Gowen's WWE matches, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Zach Gowen's first WWE match would take place on SmackDown on July 3rd, 2003. The Big Show comes out here for a 2-on-1 no DQs handicap match against SmackDown General Manager Stephanie McMahon and our boy Zach Gowen. And if he is able to defeat the Big Show, he will earn a WWE contract. Zach starts out hot before Big Show just slightly tosses him aside to Stephanie's horror. Zach tries again, but Big Show just rips off Zach's shirt and chops his A-cups. Show follows Zach to the floor, where Stephanie then jumps from the apron on the Show's back, but she just lets Jiggle Physics take their motion to the floor. Big Show reaches under the ring and rips off Zach's leg. What? Show looks for Gowen as he hops into the ring and hits a baseball slide. He gets caught for the house show dive and then military press back into the ring. Stephanie then gets pressed into the ring soon after as well. Big Show hoists up Stephanie up for the chokeslam, but as Vince plays traffic cop, Zach trips up Vince on the apron, gives Big Show a kick to the gut, but then gets laid out with a clothesline. Big Show then instructed by Vince, and he drops Zach with the chokeslam. Vince talks some shit and rubs some shit off his shoe soon after. Stephanie slaps the dog fuck out of Vince before Stephanie then gets goozled. Kurt Angle appears for the run-in and gets goozled. Angle then kicks Show in the balls and then locks in the ankle lock. Vince then whacks Kurt in the back with a chair to save his big homie. Lesnar ducks a chair shot from Vince and looks for the F5 before Show boots Brock down. Zach kicks the chair into Big Show's head, which allows Kurt Angle to nail the angle slam. Brock Lesnar then powers Big Show up and gives him the F5. Vince then gets dropkicked from Zach Gowen, making his phone fall out of his pocket. Zach Gowen then climbs the top rope and hits the one-legged moonsault and scores a 3 on the Big Show to score himself a WWE contract. 3 weeks later on SmackDown, and we have some 6-man tag team action as we see the Big Show step out first, with his partners being the WWE Tag Team Champions Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas of the world's greatest tag team. Their opponents will be Kurt Angle, Zach Gowen, and WWE Undisputed Champion Brock Lesnar. Kurt Angle and Shelton Benjamin will start this one off. After some time, Zach gets a cheap shot on Haas. He avoids the attack, but then Lesnar then just press slams Haas across the ring. Zach Gowen gets used as a weapon and takes out both Benjamin and Haas with a crossbody. Lesnar lays out Haas with a suplex. Gowen then gets a springboard leg drop. Shelton then turns Gowen inside out with the clothesline, and they start stomping his ass out. Big Show gets tagged in and starts parading around with Gowen, and then chops his titties in the corner. Show's chokeslam is thwarted by Lesnar's chop block, which causes a pinfall from Zach, and then Show presses Zach off for the 2. Angle is tagged in and Show lays out Lesnar as well as Angle. Zach then just eats shit off an apron chokeslam. Vince comes out here with a chair and smacks Gowen in the leg as the ref's back is turned. Zach doesn't appear for the rest of the match as he was carried out by officials during the commercials. Haas and Benjamin fuck Lesnar up on the outside. Big Show then hits a chokeslam and wins the match for his team. 3 days later, and we're on pay-per-view at Vengeance 2003, and Vince McMahon takes on Zach Gowen in his first pay-per-view match on WWE TV. I am preparing for this match to be terrible. Vince is also so roided up that he's oozing sweat and muscle. Zach Gowen then prepares to face Vince with one leg, as he then de-legs himself, and then the ref gives it to Tony Chimmel. Vince takes Zach down with basic moveset 1 from SVR 08. Zach tries to roll up Vince, but Vince then just lays him out with a clothesline. Zach gets some elbows on Vince, but Vince gets sent over the top to the floor. Gowen baseball slides him, and then hits a beautiful acai moonsault near the ramp. Vince tries to get back into the ring, but Gowen gives him a guillotine leg drop. Vince kicks out at 2. Vince targets the leg for a little bit, and then kicks his leg out of his leg. He does it again, slides to the outside, and then swings Zach's leg around the ring post. Zach gets a boot out of the corner after some time. Zach hits the up and over, and then drop kicks McMahon into the corner. Zach starts raining down rights, and then he wraps Vince's legs around the turnbuckle and scrambles his grapefruits. Zach misses a top rope bulldog. He then climbs another corner and hits the missile dropkick. Gowen climbs to the top and hits the moonsault, but Vince gets his foot on the rope at 2. Vince thumbs Gowen in the eye and takes a chair at ringside. Brian Hebner grabs at the chair and then gets thrown to the floor by the force of the chair, I guess. Gowen dropkicks the chair into Vince's face, and you can see Vince do a blade job. Black and white filter now because that's a lot of blood. Gowen then hits Vince in the back with the chair, climbs to the top and misses the corkscrew senton. Vince, covered in Kool-Aid, then covers Gowen and scores a 3 count. 4 days later on SmackDown, and Zach Gowen, who de-legs himself again to toe with MFer or Matitude follower Shannon Moore with Matt Hardy v1 in his corner. Shannon pushes Zack off the lockup and hops up a little. Zack gets a shot and hits a Japanese arm drag, followed by a drop kick, knocking Moore to the floor. Zack with the spinning elbow in the corner. Moore then powers Gowen into the corner with the Northern Lights suplex. Matt trips Zack Gowen up on the outside. Shannon then hits a swinging neckbreaker for a 2 count. Shannon drives Zack into the corner. Shannon then eats the corner and then starts eating the kangaroo kicks. Gowen then nails a missile dropkick, and Moore gets a shoulder up at 2. Zack climbs to the top and hits the moonsault. Shannon is able to kick out at 2. Zack hits Shannon with the twisting neckbreaker. He avoids a shot from Matt Hardy, which allows Moore to roll up Gowen and secure the pinfall for all the MFers. Matt Hardy then attacks Gowen from behind and drops Zack with the side effect, followed by the twist of fate. Next week on SmackDown, and Matt Hardy and Shannon Moore are on commentary for our next match as Zack Gowen takes on Nunzio, accompanied by Chuck Palumbo and Johnny Stamboli. Oh, never mind. The referee sends the FBI to the back. Nunzio and Gowen start tying it up to kick us off. Nunzio kicks Gowen's leg out of his leg in the corner, and then gives him an alley-oop. Gowen stops a hip toss attempt with a flatliner for a 2 count. Nunzio then tosses Zack to the floor through the middle rope. Gowen backsprings off of Nunzio before he gets turned 1080 with a clothesline for the 2. Nunzio's balls get hung out to dry on the middle rope. Zack then nails a big moonsault as Nunzio dangles from the rope. Gowen ducks a line and hits a springboard leg lariat for a 2 count. Zack goes to the top and hits a famouser for another 2 count. Zack then drops Nunzio with the twisting neckbreaker and scales the top rope. Matt Hardy distracts the referee as Shannon Moore eats a big back elbow from the top. Nunzio takes advantage and hits the middle rope shotgun dropkick and then pins Gowen 1-2-3 for the win. Matt Hardy then gives Gowen the twist of fate once again for the post-match attack. Next week on SmackDown, and Zack Gowen is back in action, freshly shaven, and he will be taking on the Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena. John Cena gets the mic and he starts spitting some rhymes.
Still good for 2 things, and one is being a waste of space. The other is being a perfect partner in a 3-legged race. We got something in common, Zack, but I can pull off the trick. I got 1 leg. I don't need a fake. I put a boot on my dick.
Zack barrel rolls to begin as Cena stops him, then gets a drop kick in the corner. Gowen with the banderas, he brings out Cena's arm, and then John gives him a shoulder tackle and then drags him by his leg across the ring. John then lifts Gowen up for the FU, he then drops him down, pulls him into the corner, and then Gowen counters the super FU with an armbar almost. Zack then hits a springboard leg lariat, followed by a missile dropkick out of the corner. Gowen then hits the bulldog off the ropes, and Cena gets the shoulder up. Gowen climbs the top, and Cena rolls through off the crossbody attempt. He then plants Zack with the FU and secures the victory. Next week on SmackDown, and we see the next big thing, Brock Lesnar, who will be taking on our one-legged hero, Zack Gowen, who gives a kiss to his mom before the bloodbath that is about to take place. Gowen has fighting spirit, but Lesnar then tells the ref to back off, and he just gets out of the ring and walks towards Zack's family. Brock tries to give her a handshake, but she refuses, and Gowen appears from the heavens and takes out Lesnar, but Brock clobbers Zack with a lariat. Brock tosses Zack's prosthetic leg aside. Zack then hits him with his leg, which I believe is legal, but Brock gets pissed and drives Zack into the ring post. The match is officially underway, and Gowen is fucked. Lesnar drops Gowen with a powerbomb and then holds on for another. Lesnar tosses Zack to the floor, and then he goes and retrieves the chair. Lesnar then says fuck it and hits Gowen in the head hardstyle with the chair. Zack Gowen has won the match by DQ, but Brock Lesnar in his prime is basically Shao Kahn. Brock starts the headbutts on the filtered head of Zack Gowen. He then lifts up Zack in front of his mom and then F5s Gowen into the corner post. Lesnar's not done and continues the chair shots on the leg of Gowen before the refs get scared off, and then Brock gives Gowen another F5 into the post. Zack's mom then comes to his aid as he is on so many levels fucked right now. 7 weeks later on SmackDown, and Matt Hardy makes his way out here with his MF Shannon Moore, who will be taking on Zack Gowen, who returns from kayfabe injury. Shannon then drives Gowen into the corner, where Moore gets a slap and starts mocking him before he gets a hit with a missile dropkick. Zack then hits a back elbow for a 2 count. Gowen with the up and over, he gets a shot and then shit cans Zack in the corner with the Northern Lights suplex. Moore then scrambles into a cover for a 2 count. Shannon Moore alley-oops Gowen and he lands all the way on his face for another 2 count. Zack ducks under Moore's attack and hits the springboard leg lariat. Zack then pulls Shannon in for the flatliner, but Moore kicks out. Gowen with the twisting neckbreaker soon after. He then gives Hardy a dropkick on the outside. Shannon then nearly gets the 3 off of Schoolboy. Shannon places Gowen on the top. Zack pushes him off and then gives him a diving DDT. Zack climbs to the top and Matt pushes Zack to the mat while the ref checks on Shannon. Shannon then hits the cradle neckbreaker and then scores a 3 count for the MFers. 10 days later, and we're on pay-per-view at No Mercy 2003, and Zach Gowen is finally gonna get his revenge against Manitou promoter Matt Hardy with MF or Shannon Moore in his corner. Matt drives Zach into the corner and slaps him around a little. Gowen gives him one of his own and hits a leg lariat. Matt gets a kick in the head, and then Zach hits a throwback off the top for a 1 count. Zach jumps on the springboard, and Moore trips him up, and he lands right on his noggin. Matt chops Zach's titties in the corner. Hardy then hits the snake eyes and then turns Zach inside out with a flying clothesline. Zach tosses Matt into the middle buckle. Matt then hits a front slam, climbs the top, but then nobody's home for the moonsault. Zach hits a single leg drop kick. He then runs onto the ropes and cannonball sentons himself onto Matt to the floor. Zach climbs to the top and hits a crossbody for the 2 count. Matt Hardy then pulls Zach in for the side effect and scores a 2 count of his own. Gowen gets nutted on the top rope. Matt Hardy then attempts a back suplex, but Matt goes crashing down, and Zach hits a wonderful moonsault, hooks the leg, and scores the victory. 4 days later, and we get to our final match of the video. We see WWE Cruiserweight Champion Yoshihiro Tajiri making his way down to the ring on SmackDown, and he will be taking on Zach Gowen in his final ever WWE appearance in a non-title match. You couldn't have just gave him a title match just for one night. Zach and Tajiri take each other all around the ring with the chain wrestling to start us off. As Gowen then gets his bell rung with a kick, Zach hops over Tajiri and hits a drop kick back into the arm drag. Zach gets his DDT counter with a spine buster. Tajiri then starts putting the boots to Gowen. Zach tries to chop at Tajiri, but Tajiri hits way harder. Zach counters the suplex and scores a 2 off a schoolboy. Gowen then rolls him up for another 2. Tajiri eats the corner, and then Gowen hits a leg lariat off the ropes for a 2 count. Zach climbs to the top but gets smacked in the ass. Tajiri looks for a back suplex, but he goes crashing down. Zach then follows suit after he misses the moonsault. Tajiri then nails the buzzsaw kick and scores the pinfall to pick up the win. And that, my friends, was every match that Zach Gowen, the one-legged wrestler, had in WWE. Love you all, and I will see you next time.